e-file and paper return types. The Community Tax Centers prepares two types of tax returns: electronically filed tax returns and paper filed tax returns. Once a tax return has been prepared and then quality reviewed, a return is considered complete and can be submitted to the IRS. The method of how a tax return is delivered to the IRS will be determined by the client selecting to either electronically file or paper file their tax return. During this training session, I will refer to electronically filing as e-file. So now let's discuss e-filed tax returns. The Community Tax Centers want to encourage clients to e-file their tax return, so we have made e-filing the default return type in the tax software. There are a few advantages to e-filing a tax return to the IRS. E-filing is the fastest way for the clients to receive their tax refund. Within 24 hours of the IRS receiving a tax return electronically, an acknowledgement is returned to us by the IRS, confirming that the tax return has been received. Submitting an e-file tax return requires the Community Tax Centers to retain copies of photo IDs, Social Security cards, or ITIN letters, a copy of each W-2, and a signature authorization on Form 8879. When a tax return is not being e-filed, then it must be mailed to the IRS. This is what we call a paper tax return. Since paper tax returns are mailed to the IRS, they take much longer to be processed, delaying the refund an additional 2 weeks. Because it is the client's responsibility to mail the tax return to the IRS, foundation communities will not receive confirmation that the tax return has been received. And the IRS will also not contact the client with a confirmation that the tax return was received or is being processed. Ultimately, it is the client's decision to not e-file, but at times, the tax return must be mailed to the IRS as a paper tax return due to special situations. Some special situations where a tax return has to be completed as a paper tax return are when a tax return is being prepared as married filing separately, or MFS. The tax return has a zero adjusted gross income with no refund or no balance due. An amendment is being prepared when filing a tax return with a substitute W-2, when a transcript is being provided and the company name, EIN, and address is not legible or has been redacted, when a Social Security number on a W-2 or 1099-R does not list the taxpayer's correct Social Security number, when filing for a deceased taxpayer, or when the tax return includes a payment of the 2008 first-time homebuyer's credit. Another common situation where a tax return has to be paper filed is when a client is applying for or renewing an individual taxpayer identification number. To learn more about what types of situations must be mailed to the IRS, refer to the document titled "When Is It a Paper Return?" located on CTC Resources. Imagine you are working with a client by the name of Alex. Alex is married but has not lived with her spouse during the year and does not have any dependents. Alex will be filing her tax return with the filing status of married filing separately and is receiving a tax refund. Can Alex's tax return be e-filed? Alex's tax return must be a paper filed, since the Community Tax Centers cannot e-file a tax return with married filing separately filing status. Once it has been determined if the return type will be either e-file or paper tax return, the client will then need to choose the method of delivering their tax refund or the method of making payments to the IRS. When a client is due a tax refund on their tax return, they must choose between two methods of receiving their refund. The most common method is to elect to have their tax refund direct deposited into their bank account. The IRS can direct deposit the tax refund into either a checking, savings, or both accounts. The client will need to provide the name of the banking institution as well as the routing and account number for the tax preparer to enter into the tax software. refunds that have been direct deposited will arrive into the bank account in 8 to 21 days. The second option is to request that the IRS mail a paper check for the full amount of the refund. Requesting a paper check is very different from a paper return type. As a reminder, a paper return type is the method of delivering the tax return to the IRS, whereas requesting a paper check of your balance is how you will receive your refund. A return that is mailed to the IRS, a paper return, can elect to have the refund direct deposited or sent as a check in the mail. If a client owes a balance to the IRS, they may elect to have a portion of their balance withdrawn or direct debited from their bank account. During the tax preparation process, the client must provide the name of the banking institution, the routing and account number, the payment amount, and the date the IRS can remove the payment from the client's account. At the time of the tax preparation, a payment of any amount can be made. If the client prefers to not debit the payment from their bank account, they can submit a payment at a later time. The tax software will automatically print out Form 1040-V. This form can be used by the client to make a payment at a later time. We encourage all clients who have a balance on their tax return to begin paying down the balance prior to the yearly tax filing deadline. Interest and penalties will accrue from the due date of the return until the amount is paid in full. Remember Alex in our earlier example? Alex is married but has not lived with her spouse during the year and does not have any dependents. Alex will be filing her tax return with the filing status as married filing separately and is due a tax refund. What is the fastest option Alex can choose to get her tax refund? The fastest option would be direct depositing. Alex will have to mail in her tax return to the IRS, but she can receive her tax refund as a direct deposit. Now that you understand the differences between an e-file and a paper tax return type, as well as the tax refund and payment options, the Federal Return Type drop-down menu in TaxSlayer is used to choose these methods. The drop-down combines the method of delivery and either the tax refund or payment method. The options include e-file direct deposit, e-file paper check, e-file direct debit, e-file mail payment, paper return direct deposit, paper return for a paper check, paper return direct debit, and paper return mail payment. The choices displayed in the software will be determined by whether the client is either due a tax refund or owes a balance to the IRS. Remember Alex? We had determined that Alex's return must be a paper return type due to the married filing separately filing status. And when you ask how she would like her refund, Alex informs you that she prefers to have her refund direct deposited right to her bank account. Which option would you select in the Federal Return Type drop-down menu? You would need to select Paper Return with Direct Deposit. This will conclude our e-file versus paper video. For more information, watch How to Close a Return for Tax Preparers or How to Close a Return for Quality Reviewers.